Welcome to the Fourth and Forever podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kirby, and let's get into it.
That's a W.
So, I know it's been a few weeks, people, and I'm sorry for that. We've had a lot going on in July. A lot of things have been really crazy, and I just want to get into it. First and foremost, won't be a lot of Ravens talk on this podcast. I feel like there's a lot with Lamar's contract that's not really being discussed, and he doesn't seem as concerned about it right now. A lot of getting up to speed for the offense. Not really a lot of news per se in general. I mean, Jesse Minter, Declan Doyle. Really, what I want to see for the Ravens is what they're going to put on, like on camera, what they're actually going to do. So, before we dive all into that and worry about that, I want to talk about first Jalen Carter. Huge 4-year, $152 million deal worth up to $106 million or $160 million with $106 million guaranteed. There was talks that the Browns were going to trade Myles Garrett to the Eagles, and what they wanted in return was Jalen Carter, a up-and-coming two-time Pro Bowler who's just a complete stud, and we all know it. They held on to Carter. They didn't get Myles Garrett. We saw how that played out for the Rams and for the Browns. So now they have their cornerstone piece on that defensive front. It's a team that's always pride themselves on, or an organization at least, that's pride themselves on good cornerstone pieces. And Jalen Carter is about to be one of those. He's going to be a potential All-Pro, I think, throughout his career. He's going to have many more Pro Bowls and will be a game changer and a true impact on the defense that I think don't have a lot of impact pieces at the moment. I think they have at least in my opinion, I believe they have a really good front 2 or 3 guys. They have a lot of young, talented corners, but their safeties are not where they were at. I don't love the linebacking duo the linebacking squad outside of Zach Bond, and even then, Bond had one really good year and one good year. So, seeing how they bounce back from that is going to be huge. Next up, I want to talk about is Aaron Donald. Will Aaron Donald return? Will we see the return of Aaron Donald in the NFL? That is the huge question. Ever since the Myles Garrett trade happened, they sent Jared Verse to the Browns, Myles Garrett to the Rams, and the picks that were thrown up, everyone's asking, is this prime time for Aaron Donald to return? Aaron Donald has been in pads, he's been practicing, he's been, as Sean McVay said, he is putting himself in a position to make a decision. Now, what does that mean? As you know, Sean McVay doesn't give away a lot of stuff at pressers. He dabbles information, but he won't give you everything. So, I'm looking at it, what does it mean? I think Aaron Donald's going to play. Now, is he playing 17 games? I don't know. Will he play half the games? Possibly. If this team is primed to go to the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl, will he take part in that to get his second Super Bowl ring, his third Super Bowl appearance, and stack onto an already historically, legendary career? Yeah, I think so. I think Aaron Donald has put himself in a position that if he thinks he can play at a high level still, or even at a very good level, he's coming back. He's only a year out from playing. Year, maybe 2. It's not a huge gap from when he last played. This team is primed everywhere. You got a quarterback coming off an MVP year. You got 2 running backs. They said Blake Corum's going to be even more featured this year. So you got pieces to establish the run game. You have receivers, especially now Devontae Adams coming into his second year into the system, and Puka Nacua is still a star. You got a good offensive line, not great, but a good offensive line to protect your said quarterback. And you fixed your biggest weakness, was your defensive back room with Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. Honestly, this looks like a team that is primed to do great things. Super Bowl champions, at least 14, maybe 15 wins. This is a team that I look forward to watching all season long, but they're also a team with some of the highest expectations. Truth is, this is a team that going into the season should be the Super Bowl favorites, and every single regular season game they play, you're expecting them to win 80% of them, maybe even more. This is a team that should win 14 games. Should. And even in the tough division they're in, I would say they're more primed than the Niners. They're definitely better than the Cardinals. And if they split it with the Seahawks, now the rest of the games, the rest of the divisions, the rest of the schedule, it should be almost a cakewalk for what this defense is putting on the board and what this offense can put on the board. I mean, if you're an offense that can score 28 plus points a game and you're a defense that can hold teams under 20 points a game, they're going to win a majority of their football games, just point blank and period. Now, is this a Super Bowl team? Yeah, 100%. You have a team that was one game away from going to the Super Bowl, and most people believed if they were in it, they were going to win it. And now, with Myles Garrett coming on board and going to really add another element to that defense, a veteran pass rusher that is just coming off a Defensive Player of the Year and breaking the single season sack record, you don't want to, like, why wouldn't you want to pair him up with Aaron Donald? Now, you can be the devil's advocate here and say, what are the negatives of adding Aaron Donald? Well, one, if they add Aaron Donald and Donald is not who he was, I don't believe that's going to be the case. But there's always a chance a couple years out of football, you don't know how your body's going to react to actually putting the pads on and getting game ready. Secondly, what if they don't win the Super Bowl? I mean, I'm not saying that if they don't win it this year, they don't have a shot next year. But Stafford's not getting any younger. Myles Garrett is an older player, even though he's on the back half of his prime. He's still in his prime, but back half of his prime. Donald is not in his prime anymore. We even if he comes back and he has a great season, I don't see him being Defensive Player of the Year again. I mean, you got Trent McDuffie that you're going to talk about playing him on the outside, but he's a slot corner. He should dominate the slot. So that means one of your corner positions are going to be a little weaker in matchups. But all that said, I still think this should be a great team. But if you don't win the Super Bowl with everything you've put together and you can't cover up any potential weaknesses, then it's a loss of a season. And then you just wasted the return of Aaron Donald. You wasted the trade for Myles Garrett. And you may have wasted Stafford's last year in the building. I'm not saying that it's a lost cause and they can't still be a good team. But a team that goes all in, they're looking for Super Bowl or bust. That's what they're looking for. And I think that's why the Ravens fired Harbaugh. Our goal is to win a Super Bowl. Now, we may not plan to do it this year, but Shawty said it. Took Harbaugh about 5 years. That's what he's given to Mentor. Mentor's got 5 years to bring a Super Bowl. Teams set standards. Organizations have standards. And when you're a winning franchise, you have standards. I've talked about this about a lot of teams, like the Eagles. I said the Eagles, they're on the hot seats this season. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts think they're cozy because they've got a Super Bowl, but that's an organization that has the standard set. We win Super Bowls. We need to get there. We need to win them. They've set that standard. They fired a head coach that won a Super Bowl. They released a quarterback, traded him, but let him go off somewhere else after he was having an MVP-like season before he got hurt. You think they won't do the same thing to the two guys they got in the building right now if the Cowboys somehow win this division? Just saying, standards for teams matter, and organizations that hold themselves to a higher standard are the reason why they're successful for a long period of time. I mean, look at the Patriots. Robert Kraft has a standard for how he holds this team. They weren't bad for long. We got tired of the Patriots being good for so long that they had a couple down years, and we were all so thrilled. Now they got Drake May, they got Mike Vrabel, they had a good draft, good free agency, and got A.J. Brown. Like, now they're good again, and they're going to be good moving forward. How great they're going to be, we don't know, but they're going to be good, and now they're going to be a threat. Look at a team like the Bills. They want to win a Super Bowl. They have a standard that they need to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They didn't think they could do it with McDermott. McDermott's gone. They're going to figure it out. And that's what happens with great organizations. You put pieces together so you can win consistently, not just here and there. It really, like I said, really what separates the great organizations from the good organizations. Like, I think Jacksonville's an okay organization, but they were thrilled with what they did last year. Can they repeat it? Did they put their team together, like all the pieces together to do it again? I mean, they lost their starting running back. Who knows if Trevor Lawrence can put out a second great season? Is Liam Cohen, was it just a one-year wonder? Like, that's the things that a lot of organizations have to ask themselves, and the great organizations do, and the good organizations are just happy to be relevant. Speaking of a team that I don't think is happy to be relevant, but I think they're happy with the direction they were in, but they need to change focus. Vita Vea recently requested a trade from the Buccaneers. After an offseason of them unable to get Baker's contract handled, after Mike Evans has moved on and is now a Niner, after Chris Godwin clearly is out of his prime, Levante David retires, you lost Devin White a couple years ago, Bucky Irving's been injury prone since it's just what it is. I like Bucky, but he's not been the healthiest running back in the league. You have Jalen McMillan, who was dealing with injuries last year, who was supposed to take in the slot as the number 2. And Emeka Egbuka, after Baker got banged up through the season, and now that quarterback has came out, we saw how hurt Baker really was. But their connection completely dropped when Baker could not perform at the level Baker was performing at. I mean, I think it's time, and I've said it before, and I really want to hammer home. I think it's time for the Bucs to reset. This is a great time to reset. Vita Vea is expensive. He's a star player. You're not going to get better value for him than you are this season. This is the time to trade him, and there are teams out there that could really use a really dominant defensive tackle that can impact the run game and impact the pass game. Now, he's definitely a better run stuffer than getting after the quarterback, but that's okay. That some teams really need to stop the run. And there are teams out there that are looking at their roster and thinking, hey, if I can add Vita Vea, this might be the one piece we need to complete our defense. So I think he will be traded, and I think it just makes sense for the Bucs. If he does get traded, I wouldn't be surprised if other pieces of this team, especially if they start to a slow start falling into place as well. Baker's on the last year of his deal, and he is not afraid to play on the franchise tag. We know this. He's a I will prove it. I don't mind proving it. He has a lot of loyalty to the Bucs. They've given him a chance to resurrect his career, and he did. And the Bucs feel like they owe a lot to Baker because after Tom Brady, they had continued success. But how successful was it? Baker, I think you can't debate it. Baker had a very successful 3 years so far in Tampa. 95 touchdowns, over 12,000 yards, 2 playoff appearances, 2 division titles, and a playoff win. I think as a starting quarterback in the league, that's successful. That is something you can hang your head on. You can have your chin up, chest out. You can be proud of that, and he knows that going forward, he will get a contract, whether it's here or somewhere else. He's earned that. But the franchise tag is going to move up next year. In 2027, it's going to hit close to $50 million. So if you're not going to give him a contract extension or give him some sort of long-term deal, you're still paying him $50 million for 1 year. Are you really about to do that after, even though the success has come for Baker statistically, win-wise, it hasn't. The Bucs in the last year with Tom Brady went 8-9. So it's not like Baker was coming in and was handed a win-now-ready roster. I think it was a compete-now-ready roster within the division, but it was not a win-now-ready roster. They have a win-loss record of 27-24 in the 3 years with Baker, and they're 1-2 in the playoffs. To me, that's a team that's underperformed for the standard that their quarterback has now set. Because Baker, I think, has not played like a 27-24 quarterback. I think Baker's played at a high level as a borderline top 10 quarterback. Started last season as a top 3 quarterback. But the wins have not came, and maybe because that roster is time for an overturn. Like I said, you lost in just the last couple years. You've lost both your linebackers. You've now lost your franchise cornerstone receiver. The other receiver that's there is past his prime, can't stay healthy. You've had a turnover at running backs. Now you got Bucky, and you no longer have White there. Pretty sure they brought in Gainwell, but he's still a number 2 at best. McMillan hasn't stayed healthy, proven he can be an immediate impact. You need to get the best out of Egbuka. Antoine Winfield isn't getting any younger. Vita Vea wants to be traded. So, like I said, across the board for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it really is more so what do they think they can get out of this season, and is it worth another year of this? I mean, they didn't even win the division last year. They were in a position where even with them winning their final game, they were still unable to make the playoffs. The team they beat in Week 18 made the playoffs. That shows that team did not do enough throughout the season to be in the position they need to be in. And you can put the blame on Baker if you want, but I've read the stats. Baker's played very well. It's not him. He has almost a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio since he's been with the Bucs. That is really good. But it's not showing up on the wins-loss sheet. And I think that is the backbreaker for this team, is that they're at a point where this roster is not good enough to support a quarterback who clearly is not an elite quarterback. I wouldn't say Baker's a top 5 quarterback. I wouldn't put him in the category with Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford or Patrick Mahomes. He's not in that category. But he's definitely in the Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jordan Love category, which is borderline hanging around top 10 to top 15. So if you can give Baker a great roster, you can have a great team and a great career for your organization. Maybe it's time for the Bucs to reset. If you have another down year, why pay Baker again? Just for the same? You're a good organization. You just won a Super Bowl. You didn't bring Brady here just for 1 year of success. You brought Brady here because you believed he could win you a Super Bowl and set a standard. You have a standard to hold now. And if Baker, and you don't have to, it's not a disrespect to Baker. I think both sides wouldn't feel disrespected by this. Baker likes playing there, and he really enjoys what they've done for him. And I think they've really enjoyed what Baker has brought to the organization. But it wouldn't be smart for Baker to stick with the team to reset. That might be 3 or 4 years away from being truly competitive again. And why would it make sense if you're trying to rebuild the roster, you sign a quarterback to a $50-some million a year contract? I mean, that's what he's going to get. If he signs for 3-4 years, I mean, it's going to be $50 million a year at least, because that's the tag. Even if you get him at 48, that's a lot of money going towards a quarterback when you probably need another wide receiver, you need offensive linemen, you got to worry about Tristan Wirfs because he's the cornerstone of your offensive line. You got to lose Vita Vea, so you're going to have to go make a trade to replace him. Ruben Bain Jr., if he is what we all hope he's going to be, he's going to get expensive. Antoine Winfield, expensive. You need to get linebackers in there to replace the ones you've lost. I mean, there's so much roster and depth and pieces you have to maintain and replace that why would you spend all that money on a quarterback in 3 or 4 years when you're ready to be competitive again that is now going to be completely out of his prime? And like I said, for Baker, why would he waste the next 3 or 4 years of his ability to play some of the best football of his career with a team that isn't quite there yet? And there are rosters in the NFL that I feel like really are truly a quarterback away, and Baker would have an immediate impact there. Look at the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm going to talk about later. They don't know who they have at quarterback, and if neither of those guys can play, it makes sense for them to bring in Baker. They have the receivers, they have the running back, they have the offensive line, they have the defensive line. They just paid Brian O'Neill, their right tackle. They just paid him. They got great minds on the coaching staff. That's a roster that is a quarterback away. Once Aaron Rodgers leaves and retires for the Steelers, they're going to have an opening. They're going to need a quarterback. They're a team that does not want to live outside the playoffs. And you need a quarterback to get into the playoffs. I mean, like I said, look around at all these rosters that feel like they're really getting something going, but they're not completed. They could use Baker. I mean, if Stafford retires and Ty Simpson ain't the guy, slot him in there. You're telling me he wouldn't love to be with Sean McVay again? Yeah. I don't know. I think the Bucs are going to have a tough year, and I think it's going to be a rude awakening quick with what this organization is looking to become. And I think if they can address it early with a true understanding of what they have and where they're going, then this is going to be a smart move for both sides. But let's transition into talking about how the actual season beyond just those individual news stories and teams. With the season coming up, I think each week, I know I haven't done the podcast in a while, but I've been planning what I wanted to do. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the teams that I believe are going to become fourth place in their divisions. I have probably the worst teams in the divisions, kind of where they're standing, how I feel about them, and truthfully, going forward, I'll talk about the third place, the second place, and eventually who I believe are going to win their division, and why I think that. Also gives me some time to debate it, because I have a few teams that I don't know how they're going to do, but I'm pretty sure I'm set on the 4 teams that are going to be, let's say, the worst, maybe. But let's get into it. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Browns from the AFC North. I think this team is a young roster that has a lot of potential. But the truth is, when this team, you may have gained Jared Verse, who's going to be a great player there, but you did lose Myles Garrett, who was already an established future Hall of Famer. You have a new head coach in Todd Monken. Are you confident in him? I'm personally not. As a Ravens fan, I've seen what he can do. I think I've seen all of the tricks in his bag. I don't really see him as a head coach. I've never did. I thought him as an OC was fine. I think it's going to flame out pretty fast. It's just in my opinion. Shedeur Sanders, can he play at a high level? Can he even play like a top 15 quarterback? I told you, I think he's the worst quarterback that's going to start this season in the league. I mean, now, unless, Drew Aller starts at some point, Shedeur is probably going to be the worst. And it's not that I'm hating on Shedeur, because I don't want people to think that I have a Shedeur, I got some sort of hatred for him. But I think he got drafted in the 5th round for a reason. I think last season he showed just enough to get a second chance this season, but he did take a lot of sacks. He wasn't too accurate. He really wasn't nothing special, and I think this Browns team hasn't had special since Baker, and they didn't give him a real shot. I mean, they have a load of young talent. But I think even though you have all this talent across the board, if 2 things aren't right, the team is not going to be successful. And that's your quarterback and your head coach. And that's why I think there's no way this team can compete with the other teams in the division. The Ravens have their quarterback, they have their head coach. I believe in Minter, and I know I believe in Lamar. The Bengals have Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow. We all believe in Burrow as long as he stays healthy. And I think we all think Zach Taylor, if they can make the playoffs, he's safe. If they don't make the playoffs, he might be done. But we all definitely believe he can coach. And the Steelers, we've seen Mike McCarthy's resume. He's one of, I think, the most underrated coaches in the league, as he's produced MVPs. For Aaron Rodgers, he's produced an MVP-like season for Dak Prescott. He's produced a Super Bowl. He's produced multiple 10, 11, 12-plus win seasons. That he is insanely underrated, and he's with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, if he can produce anywhere close to what he did last year, this is a team that can be competitive. So, then I got the Miami Dolphins. They have a huge turnover on their roster across the board. They lack depth in most areas. They lost their starting quarterback and their 2 starting receivers. I believe in Malik Willis. I think it's going to be fun to see him take a shot. I think what he did in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur really shined, and he showed what he can do. But that's also in a small stint, not in 17 games. So and with a lot less of a roster to work with. I think the only good news for this team is that they got Devon Achane, who is insane. Hafley should improve this defense, but it's going to be an uphill battle all season for the Dolphins. I think they're honestly one of the worst rosters in the league, and why I think they're going to be worse than the Jets. I think the Jets have done enough. I think the Jets just have more talent. I think across the board. I don't think they have a better coaching staff. I don't know if I believe in the quarterback at all compared to Malik Willis. Just Geno Smith and Malik Willis, I really don't know. But we've also seen Geno play at a top 18 level, and we haven't seen Malik Willis in a full season play as a top even 15, 18 quarterback. So we have to see it to believe it. But they have just more talent. They have Breece Hall, they have Garrett Wilson, they have a pretty stacked defense. Just across the board, I think this is a team. They just got Kenyon Sadiq through the draft. They're going to have a talented offense, and they're going to have pieces on defense. Whether this team, the downfall of the Jets will be the coaching staff, but they just have more roster just potential. Now, the Dolphins might win 3 games. The Jets might win 4 or 5. It's going to be close, but I really do think that just based on roster depth and talent across the board, it's the Dolphins are not as good as the Jets. At least just jumping off the page at you. Next, we got the Las Vegas Raiders, which is probably going to be the best fourth-place team. I love a lot of what they've done, but I think the big question is Kirk going to start or is Mendoza going to start? If Kirk starts, is he going to produce wins? Who knows? Mendoza starts, it's going to be a learning curve. This roster is still not complete. This roster still needs a lot of pieces across the board. They still need, I think, skill positions outside of Brock Bowers, and how good is Ashton Genty? I'm still not sold that he's going to be a bell cow, true running back starter in this league. I'm still not on board that 100%. I'm not sold on the defense until I see it. They've signed good free agency, good draft, but will all these players they brought in produce? Clint Kubiak's a first-year head coach. What do you expect from him? He's a good OC, but is he a head coach? I believe he is, but you have to see it to believe it. So I think this is a lot. I mean, like I said, they could be a 6-7 win team that going forward has a really high floor, which would be really cool. But we have to. The reason I have them at 4th place is because the division. They're probably in the toughest coach division in football, across with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh. I mean, I don't know what you expect for this team. They really have a lot to do to get into the talks. If they make the playoffs, I would be very shocked. I think if they make the playoffs, it would mean the Broncos have a down season and the Chiefs never recover after last year, which I just don't see either of those. I don't see that happening. I don't see this team being able to put together 10 wins with so much they're going to figure out in year one. Just not a knock on anyone on the team or the organization. It's a figure it out year. It's kind of like how last year we said Cam Ward with the Titans, bad coaching staff, no weapons, no roster depth. We will judge him the best we can, but really this is the season we judge Cam Ward. But last season, we kind of give him a pass. That's how we're going to do it with this team. I think we see the pieces, we see what they're doing. But if this is a team that's been figuring out most of the season and then get it together and stretch some wins together late in the season, this is a team you can look forward to in 2027, but not this year. Next on my list is the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to be a 4th place team. Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles, and Daniel Jones has never proven to be a top 10 quarterback in any, even though he played well last year, I'm not giving him top 10. Won't give him top 10. Jonathan Taylor is probably their best piece, but they do put a lot on that boy, and that it's hard to be a running back and get that much on you. Pierce is going to be used more, but you don't have Pittman to complement him. Defense doesn't seem better. It's still got a lot of talent, but I don't think this defense is better than it was last year, and they don't have one of their best tacklers in Zaire Franklin. It looks like they replaced him in the draft, but once again, just because you draft a guy does not mean he's going to hit and be a star year one. This is a team that I think also has a mismatch against every team in their division. Texans clearly have a defense that I don't think this offense can compete with. The Jags have an offense that I don't think their offense can score with. And I definitely think the Titans have way more to prove than the Colts. I think the Colts overperformed last year, and the Titans I think they have a team that are determined to get wins this season. Whether they're 6 or 7 wins, they're here to prove they can win some football games. And I don't know if the Colts have that in them. And I certainly don't know if they have it in them with the quarterback that they're going to be putting out this season. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to pan out for the Colts. But I don't believe that I believe they're a 4th place team. And I believe they still are a team that, since Andrew Luck retired, has no answer at quarterback. They still have Anthony Richardson in the building. Why? He's not going to play. He's not going to start. He's not ready. Or are they going to turn to Riley Leonard? he didn't give us much last year. I mean, they brought in Phillip Rivers, and he didn't win no game. I'm just saying, this is not a team that you got a lot of faith in. It's hard to have faith in this team because without a quarterback, what are you going to do? And I at least trust the other three quarterbacks in this division a little better, and that's not saying much because I think C.J. Stroud has been in a slump since his rookie season. I think Trevor Lawrence has been up and down since he's been drafted, and Cam Ward really had nothing to work with last year. But in the stretch, Cam didn't look bad. Just saying. Next, I got the Minnesota Vikings as a fourth place team. I mean, one of the toughest divisions in football across the board. This is a great coaching staff, but I mean, with J.J. McCarthy or Kyler Murray, you don't have your quarterback. So you have the fourth best quarterback in the division, no matter how you spin it. There's like I said, it's a powerhouse division. And truth is, my biggest issue with the Vikings is, aren't people going to get tired? Aren't they tired of not competing? They had Sam Darnold in the building, and then they watched Sam Darnold go win a Super Bowl. You don't think Justin Jefferson, middle of the season, is thinking, man, should I play somewhere else? You don't think Brian Flores is thinking, man, one more year this, and there might be a coaching opportunity for me somewhere? You don't think that there's other players on this team that have immense talent that aren't thinking, man, I don't want to waste my time in Minnesota, and they check out at some point. I think the biggest worry of this team is not who you're starting at quarterback. It's will they ignite energy throughout the roster and belief that they can compete week in and week out. I think it's a great roster, and I think it's a great coaching staff. This is a team that are going to fight hard, and they're going to win 6-7 games. I don't care who's at quarterback. They're going to do it. They might win more. Truth being told, I think them and the Packers are competing for third place in this division. I will get more to that when I talk about the Packers, but I think the Packers are due for a regress. I'm just not happy with what they've done. And I think the Vikings just don't have the quarterback, and if I'm going to pick one of those teams over the other, I'm picking the Packers because I think they have a direction, they have a focus, and they have their quarterback. And quarterback matters. If you haven't noticed, most of the teams that I picked that are going to end up in fourth place don't have their quarterback. Like, come on, does not everyone see the formula? You get a starting quarterback, you get a quarterback that helps you compete, and you build around them, and you do something with that. Minnesota had Sam Darnold in the building, and they let him go because they thought we could go get McCarthy. We'll work with him. This will be fine. Kyler Murray doesn't seem to be picking up the playbook, and JJ's only played 10 games in 2 years, and he was a top 10 pick. So you have to try him if Kyler don't work out. But whoever you start at the season, it's the end for whoever, if either of them get benched. If Kyler starts and then gets benched, it's just proven Kyler is just not a good quarterback anymore. No matter how much ceiling he should have, he's just not that great because Kevin O'Connell was a genius at position, and they got talent. And if JJ can't play, then you wasted a top 10 pick. It's just, I think it's really, JJ will get a second chance just because he was a top 10 pick and he's still young. Kyler, this might be it for Kyler. And I think that's a lot of pressure for both guys with a roster that they're itching to compete. And they're in a division where they don't have time to figure it out. The Bears are here, the Lions are here, and the Packers, even if I think they're going to regress, they're not going to go down without a fight. Next, I got the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is the easiest fourth place team. In a powerhouse division, another great division in football. At best, with Jacoby Brissett, you have the fourth best quarterback. At best, with these three teams, you have the fourth best defense. At best, no matter how good Mike LaFleur is, you're going to have the fourth best coach. Like, at best with this team, you're the fourth place team. And I think, even though I like the offensive weapons, I like the running back, Love, and Algier sharing carries. It's going to be great. Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr., a good 1-2 wide receiver combo. You have Trey McBride, 99 overall tight end in Madden, been a great tight end in this league. I mean, defense, I don't mind pieces on this defense. Will Johnson at corner, great corner. I just think, truth being told, this is a roster that's just not ready, and they're not ready to compete in the division they're in. They're going to get beat up by their division opponents, and it's going to really hurt you. If you can't win divisional games, you're not going to win the division. And if you can't win divisional games and your roster's not deep enough, you're not going to beat other teams you play. This is a team that's just doomed to be a fourth place team, and I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I just think it's just they just, like I said, at best, when almost all your key stuff is fourth in a division, you're just playing with the cards stacked against you. And I feel bad for the Cardinals. Out of every team I've mentioned, I feel the worst for them because I just don't know how they're going to shape it up and get out of this position as long as you got the Seahawks with what they just did, the Rams with what they're doing, and the Niners who just won't go away. Next, I got the Falcons, and I think this is my quickest one. You got Tua and Penix, who are basically the same guy. Tua's got a more accurate arm. Penix is a little stronger arm. They got weapons all over the board, but truthfully, this is a division that, you can be fourth place in this division with 6 wins, and you can win the division with 8. So I don't have much to say about this. I think the main reason they're fourth is I think this team has no direction. Even with Stefanski as a head coach, if you don't have your quarterback, no matter how good Tua or Penix is, they're not better than Baker. They're not better than Bryce Young, and I'm not high on Bryce Young. And I think the Saints and Tyler Shuck with Kellen Moore as head coach really has a lot of upside this season. I think they should be the scariest team going into this division next year. But with the Falcons, I just don't think they have it. Like I said, they got good pieces, but I think just across the board, their defense doesn't look like it's going to be improved much. Their offense looks about the same. This is the Falcons team that, for as long as I can remember, is a 7-win team. And if they put 7 wins together, are they happy? Probably not, but I don't see them doing better than that. I just don't have any faith in this Falcons team at all whatsoever. Told you, not going to spend much time on this team. I'm not a big Falcons fan. Just not doing it. Next, we got the Commanders. This was my hardest to put for a fourth place team, but yet I've been the most critical of them last year and this year. When they drafted Jaden Daniels, I loved everything they did. I loved the Dan Quinn hire. I loved the Cliff Kingsbury hire. I loved the drafting of Jaden Daniels. I loved that this team is going to have that. I just believe that team had the juice to be something special and be a playoff team, and I really believed heavily in that. Jaden has not stayed healthy for a full season, back-to-back years. Dan Quinn is a defensive guy, and his defense is not performed. It's not been a top 10, not been a top 15 defense. I think the addition of Sonny Styles is going to help, but one guy isn't going to change your whole defense, and you're a defensive guy. That is what you do. That bothers me a lot, actually. They still can't get a number 2 besides Terry. Debo was great, but Debo's at the point of his career, he's a number 3 at best. He's a weapon, he's a footballer, but he's not a number 2 guy. I don't love the offensive line. You still have not improved it enough. And like I said, I don't like what you've done in the free agency. I don't think your draft was spectacular. I think you have a quarterback that gets injured too much. I think you have a coach that doesn't know the direction of his own team, and you no longer have Cliff Kingsbury in the building. I just don't see how you're going to compete in this division with the Giants, who I think are trending up with what they're trying to do, even though their roster is not set at all. They still have a ways to go to get this roster right, but they have a new head coach that can breathe some life into this team, even though that speech wasn't great. Harbaugh's still a damn good coach, and we all know it. You got Jackson Dart, who I really like, who got banged up last year, which we'll have to fix that, but you still got, he's got some juice in him. You got the Eagles, who aren't going away, even if they aren't a playoff team this year, which I'm not sure how to feel about that yet. They're still not going to go away. And the Cowboys, who have revamped that whole defense to make it more competitive and has an offense to compete. I don't see how the Commanders, at the state they're in, can be a competitive team. Now, if Jaden Daniels, I really do believe if they have another down season, it's time to clean house in the coaching staff and give Jaden Daniels an offensive-minded head coach that can produce for him, because he needs that. But we will see. Those are the teams I think are going to be fourth-place teams. Thank you, everyone, for listening to what I have to say. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. I'm going to try to be more regular on this, every Tuesday, recording and hopefully putting this out Wednesday or Thursday. And most importantly, as always, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.